Hey, hi, hello, friend. So today our guest is Cate Osborn. You may know her as Catiosaurus on all their socials. Cate is a best-selling author of the ADHD Field Guide for Adults, a comedian currently on tour, a Renaissance queen, and a prolific educator in the sex, kink, and ADHD space. We immediately jumped into how sex is a duality for Cate as an ace person, how different types of intimacy can shape our connections with ourselves and others, and how there is a lack of education around sex in general. Jess and I were both so excited about this conversation because we both think that Cate is the coolest, and we loved that we were able to have such a deep, meaningful conversation. We went even deeper in part 2, so be sure to come back next week for the rest of our chat. We hope you enjoy listening to our conversation as much as we had having it. Welcome to Season 7 of the Queer Consciousness Podcast. I'm Kit Sargent, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Jess Grace Garcia, and my pronouns are they, them. We're just humans wanting to share the lived experience of other humans.
This season, we're talking about all things sex. We want to have deep, heart-led conversations as we unpack what sex means to us and why it's so important to talk about it.
This is a season of unlearning, relearning, and sharing about a topic that is still considered taboo.
Because at the end of the day, we are all spiritual, sexual beings having a human experience, walking each other home. Cate Osborn, welcome to Queer Consciousness.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, we're stoked to have you here. It's going to be great.
Jess took the words right out of my mouth.
I was expecting Kit to say, we're excited. I'm so excited because...
And I am very excited because I am. Every single conversation, I always get very excited. One, because I love having very deep, vulnerable, heart-connecting conversations with other people in the world. That is one of the things that just lights me on fire.
Same.
And so to be able to have a platform where I get to do that is the absolute delight of my life. And I get to do it almost on a weekly basis. And it brings me so much joy with every single conversation because I always learn more about connecting with people. I also learn more about connecting with myself. And one of the reasons why I am very, very excited for this particular conversation is because of the fact that this is so within your wheelhouse, Cate, that I honestly, when I was thinking about, what I do on a regular basis is I go through my socials and I just start picking out people who I would love to have a conversation with. And so I do this, I always tell myself the thing that I say right before I'm about to send this pitch of, hey, you want to come on and have a conversation? And the thing that I say is, what's the worst they can say? No.
That's true. I've done that a lot for different podcasts that I've had, and I've been shocked by the people who have said yes. Like I was like, there's no way they say yes, and then they come on, and I was just like, I didn't even think you were going to be here, so now I'm wildly unprepared. It's fine.
Welcome to my life right now, because when I reached out on your socials and I was like, what's the worst? One, is she even going to see this? Like, are they actually going to be able to have the time to see this because of all of the hundreds of thousands of messages they probably get on a regular basis? And then I was like, and then I got the reply email and I was like, oh, okay. So this is happening. This is a thing that's actually happening. What made it even better was Jess was like, I'm sorry, you got who?
Yeah.
It's me.
Well, Cate, I'm excited. And I'm not the kind of person that gets like, I live in LA and I see a lot of folks that I like seen on a screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's in a Starbucks or, I don't really go to Starbucks. It's in a coffee shop.
Sure.
Or it's in like, some random line at a taco stand. You know what I mean? And I'm always like, that's so-and-so. It's whatever, And even if it's people that I've like really enjoyed, for a long time, it's rare that I get like excited. And it was funny because this morning I woke up and I looked at my calendar and I went like, okay, who are we preparing for today? Oh, yeah. Oh, I should take my Adderall right now. That needs to happen right now. And so normally I am like a little bit like, I gotta make sure I have my tea. Kit, you explain this thing. I forgot to go to the restroom before. Like, I was like, I just made sure that I had my shit together a little bit more. And I was like, I'm excited for this. This is gonna be great because I agree with Kit. Like, I love deep, awesome conversations with strangers, and I'm a fan of like being in restaurants and suddenly I connect with the person next to me, and the next thing I know, I'm like full blown talking about like fucking like religion or neurospiciness or sexuality or trans identity or whatever it is, or polyamory half the time.
Yeah. And then you're like, bye, see you never again for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And then sometimes we become friends on Instagram and they become the like one person that like watches your stories pretty regularly. And you're like, oh, hi, random person I met once who likes to watch my story.
The person who is that for me is I'm not going to tell you who they are because they're kind of famous, but they were a famous author. And I was sitting next to them on a plane and I didn't know who they were. I just thought it was like a cool guy sitting next to me on a plane, and we stayed in touch. And then he like followed me on Instagram. And then like now it's just like weird because I'm like, oh, that's that guy that I sat next to on an airplane. And he's always like likes my story. And I'm like, thanks, sir. I appreciate that so very much. But he's like pretty well known. And I think that's just like very funny.
Yeah. It just reminds you that humans are humans.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We're all
Right.
the same and we all like to consume content and we like to, support people that we enjoy.
I have a really funny story about that.
Please share it.
So, a good friend of mine is also out in LA. And he texted the group chat the other day and he was like, hey, everybody. So, I have a meeting tomorrow with some guy. His name's Matt Mercer. Do you guys like know anything about this guy?
The Matt Mercer?
And we were all like, yeah, okay. Like, ha ha ha. So funny. Like, oh. And he was like, no, I'm serious. Who is this person? And we had to be like, okay. So he is the most famous D&D player of all time. We had to
right up there with
explain
Brendan
Matt
Lee Mulligan.
Mercer
I'm
in
not
context.
I'm not even into D&D and I know who that is.
It was the funniest thing ever. It was just, we were like, oh, okay, cool. You were not being sarcastic. I see. I see.
I almost wonder if it like would serve your friend to not know. Like,
Right?
It's like you never know.
I don't know. Never heard of him. I don't know. Just going completely.
It's like, hey, I'm not going to tell you everything about who he is, but why don't you at least make sure you're on time? Like,
Right.
don't,
Yeah.
You should
Don't
be
be
on time.
late.
Just be on time.
just be on time.
5 minutes, minimum 5 minutes early.
5 minutes
Please,
early.
for the rest of us.
And in LA, that means on time. Like that.
Right, exactly.
It's really hard. It's really freaking hard to get somewhere on time. I feel like most people I give like a 15-minute minimum grace period to because it's just the way it is.
Yeah. My strategy for LA is I do not leave North Hollywood. I'm like, I stay here. You can come to me or I shan't be here.
Honestly,
I shan't attend.
I'm in Pasadena. That's super smart. Like
Yeah.
people like to come to Pasadena, which I appreciate. Like I'll have people that are in Santa Monica or like, in San Gabriel Valley, and they're like, oh, you're in Pasadena. I love this place. Let's go there. And I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
I don't have to
take the
go
train.
anywhere.
I'll take the train to Santa Monica, but like I took an improv class in Santa Monica. It was so stupid. I was living in North Hollywood. I was like, I'm going to take this improv class. And it just ruined my life. It just, because I was like, oh, huzzah, I get to drive for goddamn hours. So I started like Ubering because I didn't want to drive.
Yeah.
And then it was like, it cost me like hundreds of dollars to take this like shitty improv class.
Oh my God.
But yeah, this is well thought out right now. This is great.
I don't mind it. You just have to work the schedule. Like you have to make sure that like if I'm going out to that side of town, I'm gonna do it early so that I get back before like 1 something or 2 o'clock. And then hey, if I'm coming back later, I'm just putting on a really good podcast or a good book that I'm listening to.
Yeah.
I think that for me is like, I'm good. It's just the gas prices right now are so rough that I can't be so lax about that.
Yeah. Because I split my time between Atlanta and LA. So like right now I'm in Atlanta.
Oh, dude,
so,
whenever you come out, we got to hang out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So it's raining out there in Georgia right now?
No, it's actually the most beautiful week of my entire life because that's the rules, is that it will be like 60 degrees and sunny with a slight breeze all week. And then on Saturday and Sunday when the Renaissance Festival runs, it's like torrential downpour and like a meteor shower. Like that's the Renaissance Fair rules. So it's great.
Yeah, what week are you guys in?
This is our 3rd week. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I saw I did a double check on the website, saw that you're the queen this year.
I am the queen this year. It was so dumb and so stupid, and I love it. I love it so much. I'm having a great time.
I need that skill. I've been talking about in previous episodes, like we've talked about role play and different things like that. And I think that like D&D and Ren Fair, these are places that I could really work on my ability to like kind of enjoy not being myself, like just being someone else for a minute and like being silly and having fun. And a friend recently showed me some like videos of like this like German dance like troupe that they were a part of.
Oh, cool.
And all the adults are like playing different roles. And it just looks like, I was like, why do we stop doing that at like, why do we stop playing
Yeah.
like
I
at a
mean,
certain age, unless you're like a careered professional as an actor or something? Like it makes me sad. And it's something that I realized is an area of, I don't want to say weakness. It's an area that because that feeds into my perfectionism. It's an
Mhm.
area that I want to see myself grow in,
yeah.
is being able to, because I'm imaginative as fuck.
Mhm.
But allowing myself to just play in that sort of way is something I want to work on.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really interesting because the Ren Fair was not a place where I really thought I was going to end up. Like I kind of ended up there by accident. Like my lore drop is that I started out as the entertainment director.
Very
And
cool.
like I cold emailed the Georgia Renaissance Festival and I was like, hey, I have like all these like weird theater skills and I'm thinking about moving to Atlanta. Might there be a place for me on Streetcast? And the general manager basically emailed me and was like, actually, we're looking for an entertainment director. You seem incredibly qualified. Would you be interested in the position? And so like I cold emailed into getting this like fairly big deal admin job at the Ren Fair, and I
Wow.
lied my ass off in the job interview. This is the part that I can say now because I've been safely working there for long enough. But I had never been to a Renaissance festival. I was like aware of the concept of Renaissance festivals, but I was like, I love Ren Fairs. I go to Ren Fairs every day, forever. Hooray. I'd never been to one. So I had no idea what I was getting into. I just kind of knew that it was like performance and like playing pretend and that kind of thing. It's the best job I ever had. I loved that job. It was an incredible job. And then during the pandemic, they restructured the organization. And so I wound up losing my job. But then I stayed on as street cat. So like I got demoted. I went from like being in charge to being like the least important. And I loved and it was great. Like it was amazing because I still get to be like part of the organization and still like get to like play around, but I have zero responsibility. And it's so nice. Like it's so nice. The stress is much, much less. But yeah, I don't know. I loved it. And just like the community and the people. And it's just a really good group of people. And it's interesting watching people come for the first time and just seeing that kind of like willingness to sort of immerse themselves in play and like the sort of like, all right, I'll play along. Like the playing along, like watching the like too cool for school adults kind of enter that place of like, all right, I'll buy in. Like that's really rewarding to me as a performer.
Yeah. No, I know exactly that feeling because for me, I tend to like, I love being like in the midst of conversation and enjoying, like that sort of energy. But this is one of the few areas that I get like, I want to just be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm wanting to challenge myself to not just be a fly on the wall. We're going to, ours happens around the same time as y'all's does. So we'll be going soon. But yeah, let's ask the question.
All right, let's go ahead and
I like to
get started.
Yeah, I like to do that. I'm funny. I like to like just be like, you know what? We could meander for forever, but I'm just gonna like jump right in.
Sure. Let's do it. Let's go. My body is ready.
Fantastic. Kate, what does sex mean to you?
I know you told me you were going to ask this question. Did I prepare? No, I didn't.
I think it's better that way.
It is.
Sex for me exists in a duality. I am fascinated by sex and intimacy as a concept. And intimacy and how intimacy is expressed is incredibly important to me. Because there are different kinds of intimacy that are outside of sex. But for the better part of my life, I only ever understood intimacy as sex. And that was particularly challenging because I fall under the asexual umbrella. I am demisexual, gray sexual, like however you like to define it. And so I don't have a huge connection to sex as this necessary part of my life. And so for a long time, I felt very broken. I felt very strange. I felt very outside of the conversation, outside of the narrative, very sort of disconnected from my peers. It's like, I don't know, like everybody around me was like getting crushes on like Leonardo DiCaprio. And I would be like, but you don't know anything about him. Like, what if he's a jerk, right? Like, what if he doesn't read books? Like, as like a sixth grader, these were the things that I was worried about.
Yep.
And I spent just like a really long time being like, well, eventually I'll meet the right person. Eventually I'll want to have sex and like this will be a thing. And then I kind of just kept existing in my brain and my body. And I was like, oh, maybe I just don't. Maybe I just don't really care about sex in that way. And the more that I realized I kind of don't care about sex as like a necessity for fulfillment or a necessity of my life, the more I got curious about it from like an educational perspective. Like, where does the desire for sex come from? Why do some people experience it? Why do some people not? And so it's really interesting to me because my relationship to sex is very much couched in this sort of like educational seeking to understand context. Because I don't know, sex to me is kind of like pizza. Like you sometimes I want pizza, sometimes I don't. You can take it or leave it. But there's also sushi, and sometimes sushi is much more interesting,
This is not the first time that sex has been compared to different food items. So
Yeah.
Nope.
yeah. Welcome to patreon.com/queer consciousness podcast. Can I have a name for the order?
Yes. My name is Carl.
Thanks, Carl. What would you like today?
Could I get a community support?
With the works?
Yeah.
So Kit's blogs as well as the Patreon exclusive chat? Anything else?
Yeah, I also need a producer.
Make it a basket?
Yes, please.
All right, Carl. So you want to make sure that Jess gets compensated for all their hard work? Cool. Anything else?
Yeah, I need a patron.
Just the patron?
Yeah.
You don't want the shout out at the end of the episode or to sit in on a conversation with Jess and Kit or to help support the queer community? Just the patron?
Yeah, just the patron.
All right. Your total is $40, Carl. Please pull ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, listeners of Queer Consciousness. Clearly, you have excellent taste, so we wanted to introduce ourselves. My name is Elise, they, them.
I'm Carrie, she, they, and together we created our podcast Proudly on Record to give a platform to queer stories as an act of resistance.
We would love to invite you to join our conversations with queer folks exploring the long-term effects of religious trauma, journeys of deconstruction, and the joy that comes from living life as your true, authentic self.
Lately, we've spoken with conversion therapy survivors, explored the sapphic drag queen scene, asked ex-Mormons how they survived without caffeine, and interrogated mental health experts on why. Just why?
So, if you've ever felt entitled to monetary compensation due to your religious trauma, or have ever wanted to waltz with potatoes up and down the produce aisle, have we got a show for you.
You can find Proudly on Record on all streaming platforms.
Now, back to our favorite theys, Jess and Kit.
I love that your definition of sex is as a duality. Like it very much so resonates with me so deeply because I also am on the A spectrum where it's like I can absolutely take it or leave it. Like sex, great, fantastic. I actually have made this analogy a couple of times where I'm like, sure, sex is great, but have you ever had like a mind-blowing conversation to the point where you basically have a brain orgasm where your mind is just absolutely lit the hell up and you're like, I hurt in all the best ways. My head hurts because I was thinking so deeply and I was able to connect so well with this one person in this one moment. And we were able to just like lock in so hard on each other. And I am just staring at them going, you are the best thing that has ever happened to me. And I have no idea why, but I just cannot get enough of you in this moment. and we remained fully clothed.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it was really funny. My husband and I were, so I'm on tour. I have like a national tour going on, and I was explaining to him that for me, the experience of going on stage and doing a really good show, I imagine that's what sex feels like to a lot of people, because that to me is so fulfilling and it feels good. And I feel like I'm like fully in my body and I'm connected to like my sort of whole sense of self. And I'm doing this thing that is just for like the pleasure of it. And I get to have this like really intimate dynamic. And like, granted, it is with like 300 people, not one.
I was like going to say that sounds exhibitionist and poly as fuck.
Right? Exactly. Right. But that's the thing is like, and it's not that at least for me in my experience, it's not that I don't enjoy sex, like I'm not like a sex repulsed person.
Right.
I just, it's not ever top of mind. And I think a lot of that also has to do with like the big part of the work that I do, which is that for me in my brain, because I have ADHD, because I deal with like a lot of sensory issues, like sex is just like, it's kind of a pain in the ass. Like, it's kind of just like annoying a lot. Like, cause it's just like, there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff that you got to like do. And like that you have to like get in the right headspace and be sensorially neutral enough to even like want to be touched that day, and like and that kind of thing. And so I don't know. It's like, I feel like when I start talking about something, I'm like, oh, I really don't like sex. I'm like, no, like sex feels good. Sex feels nice. Sex is like a fun, sensory experience that is like enjoyable. But yeah, like Kit, like you were saying, I would much rather have like a deeply intimate and vulnerable conversation. I would much rather do a tasting menu. Genuinely, I feel like if you like, that's like a perfect date for me, is like, let's go to like a really overly expensive Michelin star tasting menu and have that experience together. Like, that to me is so much more fulfilling than the act of like, put your pee in my V.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting. I feel like I relate more to our guests who are under the ACE umbrella more and more as I like hear different perspectives. I also identify as demi, which is technically under the ACE umbrella, and I think that's where that connection makes sense to me, right?
Yeah.
But and my wife is also gray ACE. She's my wife Erica is gray ACE, and then my wife Jana is also demi and less hypersexual than I am. And so it's an interesting thing. I wonder if I would really love to like dig into, how much we have been socialized to have sex as top of mind when it's never been meant to be. Like, it is at times when I am stressed, it is my dopamine. It is like, it is something that I can go to and say like, I want connection. I need connection this way. But as I've explained on previous episodes, I'm pretty sure I'm perimenopausal right now. Like 90% sure. I just did some like blood tests. So I guess we'll see if they can like solidify that. But I have feelings about medical systems. So but like the aspect that has been interesting for me the last at least year has been this like decentering of sexual desire. And that has felt foreign and weird for a minute, and then kind of relieving. To be like, I am not counting the days. Like, I'm not sitting here remembering the last time, oh, it's been 2 weeks. Oh, it's been however long. And that's been really nice,
Yeah.
to not be counting. Now, if I feel it in myself that I haven't gotten that level of like intimacy, then I'll just express that. I'm good at communicating, and my partners are good at listening. Like, I can say like, hey, I kind of think I need intimacy. And I don't always mean orgasm, sex. I just sometimes mean it would be nice to be naked next to you and see what happens.
Yeah.
Or be close and snuggle with you and have an open door. to that. And I think that all of that good sort of communicating and finding balance and comfort in my relationship started with my wife Erica realizing like that it was too painful to invest in sex all the time, and that we needed to kind of start having really detailed conversations about what was acceptable right now. And I'm really glad for that. I'm really glad we learned to communicate around all of those details, because now that's how I go into any sort of intimacy, including friendship intimacy. Like, hey, is a hug good for you right now? Like, a friend who wants to hold my hand for whatever reason, like we have conversations about those things, and I feel comfy saying yes or no or maybe, can we try it?
Yeah.
And I'm really thankful for being surrounded by folks like that. But I do wonder, because sometimes I think that like maybe we just weren't meant to be socialized with sex as such a big priority, and we are learning that that's not necessary for our like existence as humans.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, this is where I immediately start railing against like capitalism. But I mean, one of the things that is just very, very true is that particularly in our culture, we have basically glued intimacy and sex together.
Yes.
And it's a profound issue because, like I don't know, people have been talking a lot about like the male loneliness epidemic and like that kind of thing recently. And I think it's a really interesting topic, because what the conversation is actually about is about intimacy and where we can access intimacy and how we can safely access intimacy and who we access intimacy with. And for a lot of people, they do not have anyone with whom they can be casually intimate, not having sex, emotional intimacy, relational intimacy, intellectual intimacy, sharing, thoughts and feelings and hopes and dreams. But because we are conditioned that in like sort of this like weird duality of like, oh, that's only things that you share with a partner. That's not like friendship conversation. But then also, for a lot of people, it's very gendered, and it's like, oh, it's embarrassing for you to have those type of feelings or want to share those kind of big feelings and thoughts and hopes and dreams. That's not what you do. You're, like you're a big, strong man or whatever. Right. And so this profound lack of intimacy and like touch, like people are touch starved in our culture. Whereas if you go to other places in other countries, there's much more familiarity, and there's much more like casual arm touching and like leaning up against your friends and like men touching each other and being more intimate with each other just very casually, because that is just part of the human experience. But we have really isolated ourselves. We have created these really big sort of, personal bubbles, but this idea of like it's embarrassing to be seen hugging your friends, or it's gay to hug your bros or whatever. That kind of thing. And so the separation, or the confluence, of intimacy and sex becoming one thing, then that means that the only way that you can access intimacy is by having sex with somebody. And so then sex becomes this really weighted, really heavy, really important, really necessary part of your existence, because it's the only way that you are accessing touch or intimacy. And it's really frustrating. I don't know, I know that's like maybe like kind of a trite word, but it's really frustrating as an educator, because often, I'll show, I teach a lot of classes. I teach a lot of like workshops and like hands-on experiences and that kind of things in different capacities. And oftentimes I'll show up to like, the intimate touch workshop, and we have to spend the first half hour going, no, we're not going to have sex today. That's not what today is about.
That's wild to me.
Because it is so ingrained in our culture that intimacy and sex are the same thing. And they're just not. And so I love what you said, Jess, about being able to just sort of like cuddle or experience intimate touch without it having to be sexual or sexualized. Because the sexualization of touch and the way that touch is only for sex and only for this specific type of intimacy. It's the same thing. It's that idea of like, well, I can't hug my friends. I can't touch somebody without it obviously meaning that I want to fuck them. And that's so just deeply and fundamentally incorrect. But then I don't know, then it gets like complicated because I also think that it's really important consent wise, right? Like we've all, I don't know, like, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but like you go to you go to your friend's house and they're like a family of touchers and you're just like, why are you you know? And that can be frustrating as well. So it's like there's like navigating personal boundaries and preferences and preferential, you know, how you, I don't know where I was going with that, but you know, like that kind of thing. Like so it's like, it's a very big and very like nuanced conversation. But yeah, it's exhausting to just have to sort of navigate sex ed in a conversation where it's like, it's embarrassing and weird to hug your friends. So the only time I'm going to touch my partner is when I want to have sex with them. It's like, oh man, no, you're fucking your life up, dog.
Yeah, well, and I think you're, you know, you're specifically speaking to an American problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's one thing that I've been in conversation with quite a few of my friends recently about, which is that, you know, I loved the way you explained this inability to separate, that they've become such a big part of the same conversation. And it's frustrating because it means that when my intent is to touch your shoulder and check in on you, that now, because of what we've created in our American psyche, that it almost immediately gets assumed as a sexual intention.
Yeah, like
if
predatory
your hand,
touch.
Yes, it's predatory touch. If your hand is there longer than expected, or if you if someone's passing in front of you, or you're passing behind someone and you happen to kind of graze their back. You know, like I'm a curvy human. I might be small and snack sized, but I'm still a curvy human. And so when I'm passing people, I often will touch their shoulder or something like that. And I've had many moments, especially in the last couple of years, where I'll realize like, oh man, I did not check if that was okay. Hopefully they're cool. And it's like, oh wait, I'm in a gay bar. They're more than fine. And like I have to like think about where I am, you know, like in those sorts of spaces. And it's definitely frustrating for a family that grew up being more touchy-feely, a person that like enjoys all kinds of platonic intimacy and touch. And I've become, you know, really, really uniquely aware, especially as a curvy human, of my body, because I've been told, or not been told, other people were told, and then eventually told me that like, oh, their boobs were on me way too often. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
How did that happen? Like, it was a weird experience of like, did I accidentally touch you once and it became a weird, like did you have some sort of trauma previously that has led you to have a really hard experience with that? Like, because it wasn't, for me, I don't want these things to be super apparent. So like, for you to have a discomfort with my body when I've dealt with discomfort in my body for my whole life at different times, in different ways, that's frustrating and that's hard. And it's because of what we've done to intimacy. We've made it primarily done for just like romantic relationships. And I hate that. And the other part of that I will say, as a masculine leaning person, someone who has a beard now, I did not experience that before having a beard. I did not experience that level of discomfort that some people might have. And it's because it's discouraged for masculine folks to be intimate beyond romantic relationship. And like you said, it's gay for men to touch each other. And I see that show up even for me as a trans mask non-binary human.
Yeah. Well, and also there's a lot of, I don't know, this may be weird to bring this up, but there's also a lot of like fat phobia and sizeism as well,
Yep.
right? Because it's like when you are a curvy person, and it's like I am in this like really interesting world where I have been on both ends of the spectrum.
Mhm.
Like I have been very, very large, and now I happen to be very small. I'm in a small season of my life.
Yep.
But like that idea, the discomfort around larger bodies, and like, ew, your boobs touch me. It's like, well, there's no room for me to pass. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like that kind of thing. And so like so much of it is also this like there's like this fat phobic element. There's this like condemnation around certain types of bodies. And I have to imagine that for you, because like you have the beard, but you are also like a breasted person. Like, there's
I
like
like the way you described that.
I like breasted, and I also like embosomed.
It's
I like both
fantastic.
of those.
Breasted is
But,
great.
and so then there's like this disconnect between, hey, wait, and so the like just the natural sort of like weird like snap judgment that people are willing to pass on trans bodies, in a way that they would never, on like a cis het person. So it's
yeah, we get sexualized on this like
just sexualized in like such a larger scale. I don't know. It's just, it really frustrates me that there's like so much of the conversation around just bodies and like connecting with bodies and how and when we connect with bodies is absolutely based in a lot of like fat phobia and transphobia and like patriarchal white supremacy and capitalism. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I keep trying to like not rail against capitalism and the patriarchy,
Why?
but
Go
just
for
every time we can
Do it.
just got to bring it back every single time. Be like, let us not forget everything is bad and terrible because of these very specific reasons.
I can pretty much bring everything back to patriarchy
I
as
know,
an
right?
issue, and especially as someone who has worked on and off again in the last 7 years in church.
Mhm.
It's the root of so much
Yeah.
of the brokenness.
Yeah.
And I think I've only recently been able to start healing that hierarchy doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like it can be done ethically,
Mhm.
which is a weird thing to try and even conceptualize because I was so anti patriarchy for so long that I just thought anti-hierarchical was the only way.
Yeah.
But no, there's a way to ethically be hierarchical. But yeah, no, I could go on about that for days.
No, I think the religious aspects, the religious element of sexuality is also, I mean, that was a big part of my growing up identity. Was I was raised very conservative Catholic. Like I was going to be a nun. Do you know this about me?
No.
Like one of my lore drops is that my career plan for a while was I was going to be a nun. And then it turned
I think
out
you'd
that
kill
I
it in a
was
habit.
too gay. I was too gay to be a nun. But
You realize there's quite a few gay nuns.
Oh, there's a lot of gay,
especially
like, so
asexual
looking
gay
back,
nuns.
like looking back on because most of my teachers were nuns in school. I was like, they were lesbians, every single one of them. I was like, oh wow, like wow, she's got a vibe to her. And then I would like grow up. I was like, oh, I see what that was. But it was, I don't know, like there was so much shame and guilt and this sort of fundamental idea that you are wrong and bad just for like existing that is sort of baked into a lot of religious culture, that unpacking sexuality and intimacy in that context and in that conversation can be incredibly difficult. And so I see a lot of queer people, especially like going through that sort of like reconstruction or deconstruction.
Well, both, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not linear.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
nothing linear about deconstruction. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all over the place. You're
It's all over.
deconstructing one thing, reconstructing something else.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know, like it's so interesting to me that you can't ever really just talk about sex in a bubble. You know, you like you can sort of like talk about like science, I guess. But so much of it is like, okay, well, how were you raised religiously? Like, what were the attitudes around sex that you grew up? Like, where are you at now? Have you embraced those? Are you turning away from those? Like, how do they intersect with maybe like your queer identity? You know, like, or should you grow up hearing that homosexual people are terrible sinners and they're going to be damned to hell? Because that'll make you feel a certain way about yourself. You know what I mean?
That's
and so
for
yeah,
sure.
I don't know, like I think is why I'm so drawn to sex as an educator, because any way you look at it, any sort of like facet that you turn the diamond, there's an interesting perspective and an interesting sort of way of coming to the conversation that I feel like you just meet different people. You just find different people in all of these different facets of the conversation. And I think that's one of my favorite things about it is just I like being able to be like, today we're going to talk about the religious side of things. And that's a whole group of people, like, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah.
I think it's because a lot of people are now finally starting to realize the lack of education just broadly that they have in terms of sexual anything because of the fact that there is so much religious oppression that comes from the sexual side of things, where it's like and one of the things that I have had to learn how to unpack just for myself is the fact that growing up, especially in purity culture, because I was raised evangelical, there was such a control over my sexual identity that everyone else had control over how I was perceived sexually.
Yeah.
That gave me absolutely no autonomy because it got completely ripped away from me.
Yeah.
Where it was like, you do not get to be a sexually autonomous individual. You can only be a sexual individual after you have been married. You have been pledged to a man who now has control over your sexual identity. You don't even have control. Like, you are a fully grown adult female, and you no longer have your own control over your own sexual identity because of the fact that it is now given to your husband, who is now supposed to be in charge of it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the education standard, the education component of that is also so important to understand, because a lot of these organizations are also lobbying to control the sex ed narrative. Like, one of my favorite unfun facts is that I believe at last count, it was like only 19 states require sex education to be science-backed and factually based.
I hate that.
That's mathematically, that's less than half. And so there is a lot of room for misinformation and miseducation and undereducation. And it's always couched in this idea that we are doing people a favor, right? Like, if we are controlling these conversations, if we are making these conversations safe for the children or whatever, then somehow we're protecting them. But what the studies show, what science shows, and this is the part that I just get like real mad about, is that the worse your education, the worse your understanding of how sex and intimacy works. And that is how you wind up with a lot of problems and a lot of issues and a lot of misunderstandings and widely held beliefs around consent that just aren't true or aren't valid or are not real. That's how you wind up with like marital rape. That's how you wind up with like unintended pregnancies and STIs and like all of these different things, because we are undereducating people under the guise of protecting them. And it's like, well, we can't talk about queer people because it's like an agenda, but there are differentials in safer sex for queer individuals, right? And so it's just immensely frustrating to me, especially because a lot of the work that I do is around neurodivergent and disabled people. And let me tell you how many sex ed curriculums include disabled kids, right? Like the answer is 0.
Yep.
And so there's so many people who are just left out and discounted and told that they don't belong in this conversation. It's one of the reasons why I started doing the work that I did. It was one of the reasons why I really came to the conversation. I was like, okay, well, I'm not part of this conversation, so I'm going to make that conversation. And it's gone well, I guess, question mark. But it is weird being one of the only people. Like, I don't like that. It's so uncomfortable for me. It is genuinely one of the things that I like least about my job, is that because I am one of the only people, that's an immense amount of pressure. Like, that is an immense amount of responsibility. And like, I'm not a doctor. Like, I'm not a therapist. Like, I'm working on a PhD that's going very slowly because I can do it on my own timeline. And when you have ADHD and there's just sort of an open-ended timeline, it's never going to happen. I'm never going to finish this fucking PhD.
I feel that.
But like, that to me, like, that's the part that I get viscerally angry about. And so like, Kit, it was really funny. Like, your your question at the beginning, like, what's your relationship to sex? I was like, rage and fucking spite is the real answers, because whenever I start thinking about sex, I just get angry. I do. I just genuinely get angry, especially on like the education side of things, because like there is just such a lack of good, safe, ethical education for people. And so then chuckle fucks like me have to like pick up the slack, and like, who the fuck am I? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
and some of the most, I think, qualified people to have that conversation are those that are working in kink spaces, those who are doing, kink 101, like helping people to learn how to, even when they're nonverbal. I feel like that happens a lot where like, especially with both my partners, they tend to go nonverbal when they're overstimulated.
Same.
And and so it's, how do we check in on, this is still good? Or we need to shift something when yes or no is not an option.
I love kink. I love kink so much.
There are so many ways to like, it's like, oh, interesting. Like, we need to have a lot of conversations about how there are many different ways to communicate. And yet, because for me, I'm more of an empathic human. And so I'm really good at being highly aware of what other people are experiencing or feeling. And so it's rare that I miss something. And it's interesting. I was in a conversation for my nonprofit last week, and it was a group of new people, and I had like noticed that a subject came up that hit someone in a weird way, and I could tell that they were doing their best to stay seated and to not run away. And they were across the table from me, as opposed to being like next to or near me in a way that I could have just kind of leaned in and said, "It's cool if you have to take a break." Like instead of interrupting and maybe embarrassing them. But everything in me wanted to like go to the other side of the table and like kind of like check in on them, because I was highly aware, whereas everyone else was not. And I sometimes have to remember, like, I'm fortunate that that was not trained out of me as a kid that grew up in a conservative space. Like, that was something that was encouraged, was to stay in tune with folks, and honestly, it might have even been a bit of a trauma response to being
absolutely
oldest daughter, with a disabled dad. Hypervigilance, big time. And I used to like to say, when my wife Erica first started like kind of really embracing and understanding that she was disabled, that like I have been in training for this my whole life, like being a good partner to a disabled partner. But the truth is like, I'm so thankful for this relationship, because it has opened so many doors of conversation and allowed me to be a better friend, a better leader, a better, teacher, whatever the situation is. Because it allows me to be able to kind of tune into some of those like moments. And I agree with you. When I when I think about sex, I'm really glad that Kit brought this up as an option in July. Like, Kit said to me in July, like, "Do you want to do this?" And I said, "I need some time. Yes, I want to do this. But I need some time to prepare." So we didn't even start until January. And during that time, part of it was me processing like some of what we talked about with the fat phobia, with the transphobia and so forth. But it was also just this frustration that I have around like this lack of education and this lack of this fear of having a conversation, and how often, like, when I'm talking to someone who is having to process through, like, is this okay to talk about this? Is this okay to talk about this? I'm continuing to like check in and like, hey, it's good. If you need a break from this conversation, that's okay. But also like, I'm here. And so I end up being like this free coach to random strangers sometimes, because it's like, oh, you really need to talk about this. Like, you really aren't talking about this with anyone. And so it's become, I would say, like, part of my mission in life is to like be such a vulnerable and open person that I can have like a random conversation with someone and not feel uncomfortable with the fact that sex has come up.
Yeah.
And be willing to talk about it. I mean, the pure fact that I have 2 spouses makes people feel they have access to it. Not only the fact that I'm trans and queer, that they can like ask that question.
Oh,
and
you're poly, so clearly I can just talk to you about whatever sex thing I want, right?
yeah, exactly. And it's like funny because I don't want that to be the standard for other people, but I'm okay with it being with me for the most part. Like, but I've just always been that way about any subject. And so I'm like, hey, like, just a reminder, this isn't the kind of thing you want to ask other people, but I'm cool
Yeah.
with it so we can move forward.
Yeah. No,
with
I'm the same way. Like it's so funny for as much as like, yeah, sex is fine. Like I'm openly poly and I talk about it quite a bit. And I mean, also I'm
a lot of my poly friends are ace. Just
fairly I'm fairly well, I feel like it's not like a humble brag to be like I'm fairly well known on the internet for talking about sex and intimacy. And so it's really interesting, like because on one hand, it is an honor to be a safe space. It is an honor to be a person to whom people feel comfortable, like asking the tough questions. But sometimes you get those 7-paragraph life story emails, and you're like, "Ooh, that's a question for a therapist."
exactly.
Knows you. That is not a thing to email a random stranger on the internet at 1 a.m. But here we are. So it's like I don't know. Like I love educating. I love educating, but I don't know. I just wish I guess like it's just I just wish there were more resources available. It's like I wish that we didn't have to be the people who were like holding that space all the time. Because I think that if there were more resources and more education and better and more open conversations available, then people would be able to do the research on their own. But a lot of times people don't even know where to start. Like they don't even know what to Google, and that to me is frustrating.
It's definitely frustrating. I tend to create sex positive spaces in spiritual spaces, and sometimes those spiritual spaces are Christian. And when they're Christian, they come with a lot of that comes with a lot of baggage. And and one of the hard lessons I had to learn is that it means a lot of sexual trauma in ways that you can't even imagine. And purity culture on its own is sexual trauma. And ever since I've been saying that at the start of whatever conversation, whether it's a planned conversation, or something else, it's really helped.
Yeah.
Because it tends to break someone's brain for half a second, and then they also go, "Oh, yeah." Like, as someone who has not experienced the most blatant forms of sexual trauma or sexual abuse, I still believe that the vast majority of Americans, because we are a Christian nation, unfortunately, have experienced this, how would I say it? Like this fracture. Because shame is so good at helping the powers that be control.
Yeah.
And sexual shame is the easiest like ticket. It's one of the easiest tickets. I think I first really read about that from Nadia Bolz-Weber's Shameless book. The way that she talks about it really made that like apparent to me, in my opinion.
It's so funny. I mean, it's not funny. It's not funny at all. It's 0% funny, but it is hilarious at the same time. Because my background is in academia, right? Like my background is in like historian academia, and specifically like medieval / like Renaissance. And so
you weren't involved in Renaissance fair in your mind?
I was, because it's very different. Because
I know, I just like
the historic. Like I was in the SCA. I was in the SCA for a while. Because they go like hard on the accuracy.
Yeah.
But I was like, Ren Fair. Inaccurate costuming. Huh.
My wife Jana played around with the SCA for a little bit out here as well, just because she's into all the knitting and crocheting and teaches all of that and is super into fiber stuff. But anyway, you keep going.
I love a fiber arts moment. I love a fiber arts moment. But like
historian academics.
What is like fascinating to me, and I don't know, like I could talk about this all day long, is that like you can like if you understand like how the church took power, right? Like how the church seized power in like the Middle Ages and then like hung on to power and then like shaped things so that it could be a very powerful organization. And the way that like women fit into that and the way
Yes.
that like sexuality was policed it was about land. It was about land ownership. It was about holding on to power and making sure that like the firstborn son would get the land. And so we have to police women's bodies to make sure that like the son is the right son. And it's like this whole thing. And so it's like when you get in so it's like, oh my God, I get so fucking heated. And so it's like, and then now it's now, right? And you can draw a direct line from purity culture to the fucking Middle Ages. Like it's not even a hard hard line to draw. And but like but like people don't see it. They don't see it. They don't know. They don't see these like I'm like, how do you not see all this? And I get so heated about it because to me it is like it's not funny, but it's so funny. It's not funny, but it's so funny that it's like these beliefs that we are promoting, like the royal we, like society is promoting in 2026 is the same shit that we were doing in 1326 because of like power and control and like men manipulating the situation in order to be the ones in power. And like how did they win? How is it that like that's like after we learned science and we learned about like space and bacteria and the stars and all of these fascinating like how is that one and that I feel like that's my next show. I feel like that's the show that I want to do is just me yelling about that for an hour. I don't know, but it's immensely frustrating to me because I think I love context. Like I love historical context.
Same.
And I don't know, like I think a lot of the conversations around sexuality, when you can add even just like the little sexy sprinkle on top of some historical context, it really is eye-opening. It is really eye-opening around how much of this is around control and this like very specific group of people trying desperately to be the ones in power against all odds. And we see it through the Renaissance and the Industrial Revolution and the Victorian period and the sexual revolution and the civil rights movement and all of these different things, like all the way through. It is this group of people going like, but no, I still want to be in charge. I still want to be in charge. It's got to be me. It's got to be me. And I'm like, that's goofy shit. That's goofy. I don't know where I was going with that. I just said to rant about it for a second. Thank you for listening.
No, I just think about, and hopefully this isn't, too dark, but it's basically like goodness. It's about what is good within us, and it's an ethical conversation at the root of it, and it's good versus evil. It's a bit of like, do I want power? Or do I want to be good? Or here's a bigger one, because I think this is where we really run into a big issue is, do I want to be perceived as good and yet also keep power?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we were fed. I mean, I'm, millennial, 39. And I feel like, we had this idea growing up that like, oh no, the world is decent. Like we are being raised in a space that feels like, for the most part, our leaders are good and they want good things. And I think what's hard has been, realizing that like even faced with ethical conversations, they will still choose power and they will still choose to be selfish. And I think that's the sad aspect of like training empathy out of humans.
Yeah.
Like that's what we've been kind of conditioned to experience. And I will say this, I wanted to say this a minute ago, which was that, and this is me being the glasses half full person. I see so many humans who have done so much good fucking work on themselves, and they say out loud like, I can't believe I'm in my 30s and I'm just figuring this out, or I'm just whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, look back at what you had to overcome.
Yeah.
Look at how many layers we had to deconstruct and reconstruct. And you're just in your 30s?
Yeah.
Let me
you got so
reuse
much
that
time
word
left.
just. Let me reuse that word just for you. Just? Whoa.
Yeah.
Like, that is impressive as hell. And I am so, if you're not offended by this and you don't think I'm speaking down to you, I'm so fucking proud of you. Like, this is an incredible feat
Yeah.
that we are here right now having these conversations. I think where it feels like another feat that we have to overcome is that's like, well, yeah, but what now? And how do we reframe the conversation? It's hard because it's like we're stuck in this, like you said, we can talk about patriarchy all day, this like system of power. And even if ethical people are able to become more powerful, that is such a seductive thing. Power is so seductive that that challenge is going to put you through a hell of a time in order to hold on to your goodness.
Yeah.
And that's why the system will always be broken.
Yeah.
Because some of the most beautiful humans can still fall victim to that. Oh, wow. Well, I've got enough to do this. Okay. Maybe I could make an exception.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird navigating having influence, like even just in like the very small way that I do, it's like I'm not very famous or very influential, but I am in a little bit,
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's really interesting, especially because I'm a person who talks so much about like sex and intimacy. It really makes me think a lot. Like I try very hard to think before I speak, I think is part of it, because it's like, it is very possible to miseducate. It is very possible to undereducate. It is very possible. Like it's, what it is. What the power thing is for me. Like the salacious, seductive a part of it is like I could make like a really in-depth 10-minute video about this concept and unpack it and do a really good job. Or I can make the 30-second video that's going to get 1 million views. That's like 5 easy ways to whatever.
Yeah.
And I have to constantly wrestle with that. I have to constantly wrestle with, am I in this for views? Am I in this for like internet attention? Or am I in this for education? And I think I've done an okay job, but I feel like sometimes I've done an okay job at the expense of being able to really grow and being able to really have a larger platform because I like the education. I like the education more than the dopamine hit of like the 5 easy ways to whatever. But I don't know, it's seductive. It's a very seductive thing going like, I could make this like piece of shit, lazy, overgeneralized video and get 1 million billion views, but it's not going to be right and it's not going to be correct and it's not going to be nuanced enough. And I hate that about myself. I'm like, sometimes I feel like maybe I could just be like a little bit of a shittier person. I don't know.
I mean, I think that's just the delayed gratification of neurospicy people. Like we are, because of the fact that we live in a constant state of dopamine deficiency, we understand what it means to delay our own gratification because we are constantly searching for the next big dopamine hit. Yeah, the tiny little ones are great along the way, but it's like, that's going to last me for 5 seconds. I need the thing that is actually going to fill my tank. I need the thing that is going to make me feel really good for an extended period of time. I can't just do a quick 5-second plug-in where I'm like, yep, now I have 5% more battery than I did before. It's like, no, I need to actually find the plug that I can set my phone on top of and get a 50% charge in 5 minutes, not a 5% charge in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the thing. And so for like, to your point of wanting the education more than the dopamine hit, that for me personally just goes to show just how much character you have and how much integrity you have
Oh,
in
gosh.
your ability to say, no, I'm doing this because this is
We're giving you dopamine. Take it.
this is the right thing for me. I'm not doing this for anyone else. I'm doing it because this is the thing that fills me up. This is the stuff that lights my ass on fire. This is the thing that I am incredibly passionate about that I want to share with everyone else. And if it doesn't hit everybody else, that's fine. It's going to get to the people who need to hear it and are going to be validated with the things that I can tell them, because this is the stuff that I know. I'm not just shouting shit out the side of my head because I can just talk about whatever. This is the stuff that I know on a foundational level because I have done the work to make sure that it is digestible for other people to fully understand and comprehend the things that I am telling them. Because to your point of the 5-second video where you can say, these are 5 easy things, that's great. But there is no comprehension. There is no depth. People are going to look at that and be like, yep, those are 5 things. And it's like, great, I can count to 5. I have 5 fingers. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hey, I did it. The people who actually stay to the end, they watch the whole thing and they actively get something out of it, where like they'll comment on it and be like, oh my God, that was so great. Like, I actually have a much better understanding of how I approach the situation. Or I can't believe you actually were able to put to words things that have been going on in my head for however long they've been going on in my head for. Like, that to me is just one of those things where it's like, these are the conversations that I like to have. These are the conversations that I want to bring to the forefront. And to Jess's point earlier of when they were talking about like why we wanted to bring this particular season, and the reason why I wanted to bring this particular season about talking about sex is because a lot of times when you hear people talk about sex, they talk about the messy side of things, where it's like, I had a really bad hookup. It was a terrible experience. Or like, did you hear about this guy who's been hooking up with 6 different women? Or like this girl who has like done all of this stuff. And it's like, they talk about the messy side of sex. And I'm like, you can get messy sides of sex on Reddit. Go to literally Reddit.whatever. Am I the assholes? Like, there's so many different Reddit feeds that you can go. If you want the drama of sex, go get it somewhere else. But if you actually want to understand how you approach a sexual situation or a sexual encounter, these are the kinds of conversations that you need to have, because you need to be able to have a lived experience of someone else saying, hey, this is how I approach sex. Like, to your point of it being for you most of the time, you're like, no, I'm approaching it from rage and spite. And it's like, we do need people who are approaching sex from rage and spite. Yeah. Because of the fact that, to your point even earlier, of having the gluedness of sex and intimacy just immediately together, like sex equals intimacy. And it's like, no, we need to take that out. Sex does not equal intimacy. Sexual intercourse is sexual intercourse. Intimacy is intimacy. They are not the same. And when you start to unpack your ability to understand, oh, no, I don't have to have sex as a central part of my life. I can completely decenter it and still have intimacy with other people and other relationships. So to be able to do that in a way where it actually feels like you are having a conversation with somebody, or in this case, you get to be a fly on the wall listening to people have a conversation about it, it brings an entirely different perspective to what sex is. Yeah. Which is why we ask the question, what does sex mean to you? And not what is your definition of sex? Because you can go very scientific, but the thing is, it's like, that's great. There are millions of science books that have been written about what penis and vagina sex is. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about earlier, but I didn't get a chance to, which is fine, is the fact that like sexual education doesn't go beyond reproduction. Yeah. It's like, you have sex, because the reason why you have sex is so that you can have a penis get put into a vagina so that they can ejaculate their sperm to get to an egg, and then egg make baby. There you go. That's it. Right. Yeah. Science. That's the whole thing. And you're like, that's it. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
How does a penis get hard? How does a vagina open up enough to make the penis go in? Like, are we actually doing this so that it does feel good? Because when you stick a round thing in sticking a square peg in a round hole seems to hurt. Like, that just seems like it would hurt. So you're telling me that this is supposed to be pleasurable the whole time?
They're not even saying it's pleasurable. They're not even saying it's pleasurable.
Yeah, well, because pleasure
isn't even a part of the conversation.
Right.
Pleasure is indulgent. Right. Like, pleasure is in some capacities and conversations, pleasure is sinful. And so like the pleasurable part of sex is something that doesn't, for the same exact reasons that I already talked about, is because like, how dare you want ownership over your body? How dare you want to indulge in this thing that just feels fucking real good sometimes? That makes you a bad person and indulgent and like it's wild to me.
I wondered if this was going to come up during this conversation, and it feels like the perfect time. I've recently been watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
This podcast is hosted by me, Kit Sargent, co-hosted and produced by Jess Grace Garcia of Springward Productions, and the theme music is by Brian Smith of Holy Holy Music Productions. If you could do us a huge favor and please like, follow, comment, share, do all of the things on all of the socials. You can follow the podcast on Instagram @_queer.consciousness for all the latest episodes as well as any other exciting news. When you're listening on Spotify, please leave a 5-star rating and use the comment box for anything you'd like us to talk about. When you're listening to Apple Podcasts, please leave a comment and a 5-star rating. If you'd like to be on the podcast, send a message to queerconsciousnesspod@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the podcast, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/queerconsciousnesspodcast. We are trying to grow as organically as possible, and this helps other like-minded people who want to empower and encourage others on their journey. So until next time, remember to stand in your truth and know that you are worthy, just as you are. Hey friend, just wanted to take a quick second to remind you that if you or someone you know is struggling and don't know where to turn, the trained volunteers at the LGBT National Hotline are here to help. Because sometimes the strongest thing to do is to ask for help. The National Hotline phone number is 888-843-4564. And if you want to check out the other things that they have available for them to help you with, you can check out the lgbthotline.org in order to be able to see all of the services that they offer in order to help our community.